And welcome, folks, to another edition of the Michigan Football Breakdown with Al Borges. Another season. We are live. We are back. Al is gorgeous. The Borges man is live.
Yes, I am, Sam. Yes, I am.
Are you folks ready to be blessed by Borges? Isn't he gorgeous? Look at that background. Al, you're glistening. You have lights. Look at you.
Well, it's got some serious light, Sam.
I
This
can't
really
believe it.
brings out all my great features. The chicks dig it.
Do you know why? Do you know why we are glistening? Why Al Borges is good? Because, folks, we have a new partnership. I am pleased to announce that our friends at Autograph have come aboard. Our man Tom Brady is on board. He saw what we did last year with the film studies, and he said, I believe in the film studies because I know you guys get down. See, he knows we are football junkies. He knows that we are football aficionados. He knows that the collective IQ of Michigan fans cannot be surpassed. He knows that the beast needs to be fed, right? He didn't want to see the film studies go away, Al Borges. So he said, I got to get on board. And he said, I got to make sure they see Al Borges. So we can we get the man some lights? Can we get the man some lights?
Yeah, Tom knows what time it is.
He knows what time it is. So, folks, by the way, the film studies are back. The film studies are available exclusively on the Autograph app. Okay. Now, if you aren't familiar with the Autograph app, it's the app that is available on iOS. It's available on Android. It's where you go to do all the things that you already do as a fan. It feeds your fandom. So your favorite blogs, your favorite podcasts, the film studies, the football film study focused on the offense, the football film study focused on the defense, all the things that you do as a fan already, you can find on the Autograph app. And the great thing about it, these fan consumptions, as you consume them, you gain points. And as you accrue these points, right, you build them up, you can redeem them for rewards, right? It doesn't get any better than that. They reward you for being a Michigan fan, right? This is a great idea that Tom Brady, wouldn't it be a Michigan person that had this great idea? So all you have to do to realize it is to download the app. Just download the app. You want to know how to download the app? Just scan this QR code. I'm going to make it real easy for you, right? I'm going to put it on the screen. You download this app. You get it. You can watch the film studies. You see it right there on your screen. There you go. All right. Scan that right there. Right? That's easy. Easy peasy. Boom. Then you can watch the film studies. You can keep up with us all season long. We're even going to be breaking down the Buckeyes in the bye week. So like I said last week, if you didn't watch the film studies last week, when I told you we're going to be breaking down the Buckeyes in the bye week, Connor Stallions ain't got nothing on us.
Connor Stallions. Are you kidding me?
Right.
This is real reconnaissance here, Sam.
Y'all thought that Connor Stallions had the Buckeyes scouted? Man, I got Al and Vance on the job. I got actual coordinators on the job. We're going to have the Buckeyes scouted. So in the first bye week, we're going to do the Buckeye breakdown on the Buckeye offense and the Buckeye breakdown on the Buckeye defense. Yeah, we're going to do that. And then the same thing in the second Michigan bye week. Now, we got to fund it. So we got a Buckeye breakdown, PayPal, funding account going on. I'm going to put that in the comment section so we can help fund it because I got to pay Al and Vance to do it now. All right. So we're going to make that happen. But the scouting reports are going to be real. And if you followed us last year and you saw how Vance and Al scouted the hell out of Bama and Washington in the postseason, then y'all know how we get down. So we're going to make it happen. So, again, download the Autograph app. That's free. That is free. Get the app. Check out the film studies. We're going to tell you what it's all about. What you can look for in the film studies is very revealing. The Fresno State tape. You can also, if you don't know how to scan a QR code, some of our people don't know how to scan a QR code. I'll put the link in the description so you can do it that way. All right. I understand. Some people are technology neophytes, as you hear me say all the time. It's not easy for some folks. So all you got to do for those who are like that is go to this link. It is very simple. Okay. Link dot. Let me pull it up for you right now. Make it simple. Link.ag.fan/Sam Webb. Link.ag.fan/Sam Webb. Whether you're an iOS user or an Android user, you can get the app that way. Enjoy it. It's free. And by the way, if you do it, you can also have a chance to win tickets to Michigan versus Texas this weekend. So it doesn't get better than that, right? Enjoy the autograph app. Let's get to it, Al. Michigan versus Fresno State, my friend. Your broad brush reaction. My lay person's take was the biggest issue for Michigan in this game was the breakdowns up front. That ailed them the most in this contest.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good win to start with, but you had some first game growing pains by a lot of guys that are new. A lot of guys that are new. I mean, you got 5 offensive linemen there that really have not played in game situations together, and that's going to show up somewhere at some time or another. And a lot of the stuff that people have to understand, and coaches understand this because they live this life, is some mistakes, whether they be missed assignments or they be technical and fundamental errors, are game specific. They're game specific. They don't necessarily show up in practice, Sam. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes a guy does it really good all the way through camp, and then he gets in a game, and there's lights, and there's 110,000 people, referees, mom and dad in the stands. A lot of pressure, man. And all of a sudden, some of the things you swore they knew how to do, they don't do. So some of this stuff is game specific. But, the good news is as you play more, a lot of that stuff works itself out. So it's not time to panic if something isn't going exactly like you expected. It's time to just keep working at it, get them better. And if they don't produce, then change players, right? But a lot of stuff was first game stuff and very game specific. The wedge plays the first one that jumps out. I mean, when they didn't get the first down, I think that was a game specific situation that guys had to experience. Up front, let's talk about that. A lot of the issues were the inability to finish blocks or use good techniques to make the block. There were not a million assignment errors. There are a couple here, but nothing you could say, well, that guy just didn't look like he knew what he's doing. No, not so much that. I think the targeting, and by the targeting, I mean knowing who to block, was pretty solid for the first game particularly, and in light of the fact that they had so many new guys. The technique and fundamentals, not so much. That has to be more consistent and more cohesive. The zones working in tandem, working with your adjacent linemen with cohesion, okay? Things like that. I use that as an example, but there are more examples of that as you go, okay? So I think as they play more, they establish their schemes more of what they really want to do, because this is a different team. The coaches are still learning to do something, Sam. They got to get guys in games. Oh, God, we can't do that. That worked last year, but this is a different dynamic. So they learn too. And you think, oh, I didn't learn that in practice? No. Sometimes you don't learn it in practice because it's not game specific. So these are all things that came up. Explosive plays. Nothing. There were no explosive plays in that. That hurts because he only ended up with, I think, 269 total yards. Well, as we showed in the film study, I advise whoever's listening to this, watch the film study, because I think Sam and I did a pretty good job of explaining how that could have been better with the run game and even some with the pass game, particularly on that interception. There's some things that are very correctable that could have brought that to 400 and something yards and maybe another 2 touchdowns. But that's a concern because to be as good as you want to be, you have to be able to create explosive plays. Okay. The cool thing is the tight end play was still pretty darn solid, particularly Colston, who's just as probably the best receiving tight end in the country, if not the best. He's certainly one of the top couple. And his blocking, I think, has taken another step in that he is now asked to do more inline blocking, which he has not really done a lot of in past years. So, but that position looks pretty solid. And I think the backs are good, but they need more opportunities to run in the open field. And that relates to what we spoke about earlier. One thing schematically that we've talked about this over the years, and I threw it up by the wayside because I didn't think it was very necessary, but it might be more necessary this year, is dealing with loaded boxes with run pass options. If your quarterback, you got 2 quarterbacks, which we're going to talk about what they bring to the table. But if you can't run your quarterback as well, you got to be able to deal with people loading the box up, which they're going to do all the time against Michigan. They did it in this game. You're either going to take some shots down the field, which they tried to do, some hit, or you got to RPO them, which is something they have not done a lot of.
Yeah.
That's something I think schematically that may be more of a factor this year. Last year, they didn't need it. I mean, we talked about it all the time. Well, they wanted more RPOs. They didn't need it. They were right. We were wrong. But this is a different year and a different dynamic.
Yeah. So that gets to a real meaty question, Al, about running into loaded boxes. Before we say they can't do it, right? It's important to note that they left plays on the field, right? They really left some meaty plays on the field, mostly up front. I mean, there was a play where it was on the back, where there was a 9-yard duo that could have gone for an explosive play, right? Could have gone for that was a play where it was a misread by the back, but mostly it was miscues up front, where, hey, a lineman doesn't as he's pulling, he doesn't come around tight to the line. It's just, and he allows a linebacker to come underneath him and blow up a play. Or maybe there's a miscommunication on a check. I mean, there were just these miscommunications or miscues where if they get it right, like you've seen past lines who have played together or played in this scheme, like they got guys who have played in other places a lot, but not played here a lot, right? Those guys having all that time on task, Al, that experience matters.
Oh, yeah.
That matters a lot. And so just those little those details that seem little are a real big deal, and they result in Donovan Edwards being one-on-one with a safety, Alex Orji being one-on-one with a safety, right? There were multiple instances in this game where Michigan should have had a back or a quarterback one-on-one with a safety. So I say that to set this point up. It could be the case where they could block a loaded box. But in the event that they can't, Al, they're going to have to ask themselves, how do they answer that question with their quarterback? Do they answer it with the quarterback run?
Mm-hmm.
Or do they answer it like Georgia did with Stetson Bennett? Because you remember what Stetson Bennett was an RPO machine.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a level of control that I don't know that Michigan. I mean, RPOs are in the playbook, but if you RPO it, you might not be running the ball as much as Michigan wants to run the ball.
Right. Yeah, it's exactly right. You got to pick how you're going to handle that. But the good news is there's ways to handle it, right? There's ways to handle it. You could play Orji more or start Orji, let him run with it, and add your quarterback to the run game. That will certainly help the run. There's no doubt that will help the running game. Now, at the end of the day, is it the answer? Is it going to score? You scored 30. Is it going to score you 40? You know what I mean? Is it going to score you more points? even if he may not be as good a passer as Warren, will he still be productive enough to justify him being in there all the time, right? And the same thing with Davis Warren. He's going to hand the ball off. The backs are going to have to beat the loaded box, or he can RPO or play pass shot. Is that going to score you more than if you did it the other way with Alex Orji? That's the magic question right now. Is do you put Orji in there and improve your run game and hope for the best with your passing game? Because this kid does have some talent. He can throw the ball some, but he's been erratic, obviously, or he'd be playing all the time if he wasn't. Because if he could throw like Burns, he would be the quarterback. So, what do you give up when you put that quarterback in there? Or maybe better put, what do you add when you put that quarterback? This week we felt Davis could throw the ball well enough to where we could run the ball into loaded boxes, play pass him, or throw some ball control passes, and we'll move the ball fine because we think he can pass. Now, all of a sudden, next week, ooh, boy, we didn't run the ball like we thought. Now we're putting too much on the quarterback. What's the answer? Well, let's spot play Orji a little bit. Well, they did that, right? But that becomes a little too predictable as the season goes, Sam.
Did you feel like, there's this notion, and watching the film, I think the film disproves this notion that Donovan wasn't seeing holes. I didn't get that feeling at all watching the tape. No. I felt like for instance, on that punch play where he should have been one-on-one with a safety, I felt like, man, I felt like there were some calls missed up front.
Yeah, well, there's a free corner in the hole. I mean, I did not have Donovan Edward missing any reads. I mean, he hasn't passed. I'll say that. I've had a few where I've said he should have run there and didn't run there, and then 3 plays later he ran for a touchdown, so he made up for it one way or the other. But I don't think that was really an issue with him. But he is a guy that has to be involved, and he's going to be the main back for the most part, it would appear anyway. But the next thing I said, and I wrote this down too, is get him more involved in the passing game too, because he is a magical receiver and he's a reliable entity for the quarterback. You can throw some high percentage stuff to him and you can throw some low percentage stuff to him. But what's been proven over the time he's been here is if he gets enough chances in the passing game, something good's going to happen.
Yeah. I said this in my 3 things after the game. Getting him involved in the passing game, and not just on swings and Texas routes, more vertical routes, wheels, split them out, send them down the field, things where you're getting him vertical, giving him some shot plays, because Donovan can do that too.
Oh, he can do that. Yeah.
I think he's their most explosive offensive player.
So he can be a receiver. He can play receiver. He's good enough to do it. So, yeah, you got to explore everything he brings to the table. And they will. I'm sure you're going to see more of that as they play more. It's the first game, and they're still getting their sea legs. But I think you're going to see schematically, as they play more, you'll get a more creative look from their offense, because they've shown they do that in the past. I don't think it's going to change any. But the only thing that changed was the players from one year to the next. So they're still kind of getting their feet on the ground, and then you can be, hopefully, as you gain confidence with your execution, you can expand your playbook.
Folks, if you have questions for Al, we'll get to them a little bit later on in the show. So line them up in the chat. For those of you who are joining us on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, I'll get to your questions a little bit later on. I'm keeping track of them, so line them up now. I'll flag them, and we'll get to them a little bit later. I know one of the questions that's coming up pretty frequently here already, and I'll just kind of get it to you now, you as a coordinator, Al. How much did you hold back? Did you get the feeling watching this from a game plan perspective that Michigan was holding a lot back in this game?
I don't think they did squat. I think they just ran their base run game. I know they did, because I wrote all their stuff down. I mean, they ran their duo play. They ran their open zone. They did not run a reverse, and they did not run a trick play. So, and they always seem to run a trick play. And they seem to always run a reverse, right? Just those are 2 simple guidelines, but it was pretty much a standard Michigan game plan, almost right out of spring football. They ran 5 duo plays. They ran 6 open zones. That punch play you talked about, Sam, they ran 3 times. They ran 4 insert zones. They ran 3 split zones. They've run the tackle wrap a couple times. They dropped back past 18 times. They naked bootleg twice. They threw 2 screens, 2 play pass shots, and they moved the pocket 3 times with sprints or dash type stuff. That is pretty much Michigan, but no frills. No frills. There was no, like I said, there's no reverse. There was no gadget play or flea flicker of any kind. The misdirection was somewhat limited. I just think they wanted to keep it simple so there weren't a lot of errors so guys could play fast. And for the most part, I think they succeeded in that. I don't believe there were a million assignment errors where guys just didn't know who to block. There may be a couple here and there, but I don't think there were a lot. So, yeah, I think it was pretty close to the cuff right in the first game.
So there's this notion. I'm sure you've heard it. I know you hate cliches like arm talent. You hate that. Do you hate the cliche? If you got 2 quarterbacks, you have none. Sharon gave the impression that we could be seeing more Alex Orji moving forward. Do you get the impression that if you sprinkle more 2 quarterbacks in down the line, that it could be disruptive to both of them? I mean, what do you think about that notion?
I don't think so. I think they can continue to use, if they decide that Davis is the guy, okay, let's just assume that's the case because so far it has been. I think using Orji is fine. He brings something to the table. But you got to be creative because that stuff gets tougher as the season goes because people get a beat on what you want to do with him. Always in, they check defenses with number 10 under center to compensate, to overplay your run game. That's what happens. So what you do with him, it can't be just runs. There's got to be something in there that explores safeties coming up or the linebackers playing too aggressively inside. You got to have something other than just running him all the time. And then you got to decide how much you're going to play him, And I think he played a little more than he played last year in this game. I don't know. I didn't break that down, but it seemed like he was in there a little bit more. But I don't see any problem with that. When you run into problems is when you try to play them both equally the whole season, because now you subject yourself to one guy having a bad game, the other guy having a good game, and then the next game it flips. And before you know it, half the locker room thinks this guy should be the quarterback. The other guy thinks this, and you got problems. Okay, now I think that could be what you're saying. If you got 2, you got none. That I've seen that happen. I've always preferred to pick a quarterback and go, and then use another quarterback for situational stuff. That usually works out fine. And for the most part, most quarterbacks, I say most, don't mind that. Most starting quarterbacks don't mind that. So I don't see any problem with Sharon's approach.
Yeah, it's I was a little surprised that they did the 1 play at a time thing with Alex. It seemed to contribute to that bounce pass that he threw. If there's a change, I would think it's going to be that they'll give him more of an opportunity to have more than a play at a time.
A series type deal.
Yeah,
See, here's the question. Again, the magic question is always is if we played Orji in that game, the whole game, let him go, right? Would we have scored more than 30 points? Okay. Now, assuming the line wouldn't have blocked much better, right? They still would have gone through a lot of the same pains, but Orji might be able to create something here, create something there. I'm not saying that he would. I'm not saying that he wouldn't. I don't know, but that's the question when you're in your coaches meetings. You're saying, do we give Orji a start? Let him go. Let's see what he can do. Knowing that he may miss some throws, but he'll compensate by doing something else creative and improvisational that'll help us score a touchdown that we may not have scored otherwise. I don't know, but this is always the things that dictate your fate.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right. Another thing that our good friend Devin, he's made the assessment already. Now, this is a line that the die is cast, that they are incapable of being a line that can block loaded boxes. Watching them through 1 game out, are you comfortable enough to make that assessment?
No, I'm not a rush to judgment guy. Those guys got to play a while before you To me, let them play a while, see what they do. Now that may be the case. I don't know. I'm not saying he's wrong, but I'm not ready to. I'm not ready to say that either because you got some young guys in there that haven't played, and the more they play, linemen, man, they got to play together and they got to play a few games. They got to get their cohesiveness and their chemistry, and before you know it, they're doing stuff that you wouldn't think they could do or weren't doing earlier in the year. So, no, I'm not ready to go that far, but they do need to make a marked improvement this week against a much better opponent.
All right. Well, one of the things we always do before we start getting the questions is, Al, you do grades. You go position by position and you do the grades. You break them down and the pluses and the minuses. I want to start off with the quarterbacks, though, and specifically, let's start with Davis Warren. How did you rate and rank and grade Davis Warren's performance?
For the first game, he wasn't bad, but he certainly wasn't great, and I'm sure he's the first one to tell you that. I'd give him nothing better than a C plus. There were 6 missed throws, which you can't miss throws if you're not going to be real mobile. You got to hit all those throws, but he managed the game pretty well. I thought in terms of all that, he did a nice job with that. There were not many or any improvisational plays that would give him a plus, and I grade him 0, minus, or plus. They either do the job, don't do the job, or they do something over and above. And there just weren't any plays like that. But I'd give him a C plus, maybe a B minus, but no better than that. I thought the tight ends were good. I would give them a B plus. I would not give them an A because there still were some blocking issues that weren't all they could be. But Colston, other than the one drop pass, was deadly. He played really good. It's Max. I always confuse Max and Ben. It was Bredesen was Bredesen. He had a couple that he'd probably like to have back, but he was pretty solid. The offensive line, I would give a C minus to. I think they can play better than they played. They're better than that. They're better than that and will be better than that. But their overall play, I had too many minuses as a group. And they got to eliminate some of the technical and fundamental errors. And I think that grade will go up. The wide receivers just they didn't show up much. Now, I can't blame them for all that because there were a lot of balls that went out there, but they have to be more imposing, particularly with regard to explosive. I can't give them anything better than a C until somebody does something that gets my attention. Okay. Running backs played pretty darn good. They were pretty darn good. They just didn't have as much room as you want. I'd give them a B because I don't know how many opportunities to make big plays there really were, but the blocking was okay. I think there was one blitz that wasn't picked up very well. But for the most part, they were probably about a B. I think the overall performance of the offense was nothing better than a C to C plus. And I don't think many guys would argue that. Some guys may give them an even lower grade. But being the first game and such, I understand what you deal with there. I always hated the first game because there's so much unknown, and there's even more unknown when a lot of the guys haven't played before. So that's pretty much my assessment.
Gotcha, folks. All right, it is question time for Borges. If you have questions for Al, be sure to put them in the comments. I want to remind those of you who want to watch the film studies. The film studies are now on the Autograph app. That is Tom Brady's app that aggregates the fan experience. If you are not aware of what the Autograph app is, the Autograph app provides for free the fan experience that cannot be beat. It aggregates.
Pretty good price.
Right. It free is a good price. All the things that you want to do as a fan, reading blogs, watching film studies, getting a true fan pricing on tickets. You can do all of that in the palm of your hand on your Android, your iPhone, your iPad. You can do all that on the Autograph app. And now you can find the football film studies here from the Michigan Insider exclusively on the Autograph app. All you got to do is download it. Just go over to the Autograph app and let me put the link in the comment section. I already put it in the chat, but I'll bring it to the screen for you right now as well. Let me go ahead and scroll to it so you can see it. It is right here for you to see. link.ag.fan/Sam Webb. Again, that's link.fan/Sam ag uh, /Sam Webb, and you go ahead and you check it out, and that will allow you to get the Autograph app. All right, folks? And we'll also get that QR code back on the screen so you can scan it for those of you who want to get to the Autograph app that way a little bit later. All right? In the meantime, in between time, let's go ahead and start getting to these questions from you, the people. Let's go to the first one now. All right. Who is this? More, you and More Man USA. No super chats to support squad. You know what? We'll start doing super chats next week. All right, we'll get the super chats going. All right, we're super chat neophytes.
He just wants to talk, Sam. He just wants.
Yeah, we'll get that going. All right. Troy Radcliffe says they need to use Donovan in different ways. Stop running up the middle. He's not that kind of back. I just
can't run any balls up the middle. Oh, timeout, Troy. Timeout. Hold on. First play in the championship game, tight side zone, right smack up the middle. Bounced off the guard or the center, slid around the left side. That was an inside running play. Second touchdown, a duo play from Bunch. He shoved it up in, pressed the line of scrimmage, jump cut back right through the middle of the line of scrimmage. 2 years ago against Purdue, Sam's explained this play 7,000 times, okay? Inside zone play, felt traffic in the middle, slid a little bit, ran for a touchdown. He is a good inside runner, and I don't want to hear he's not. Now, there are times, anecdotal evidence that might say he's missed a read or two. Now, am I going to forfeit those 3 plays I just mentioned by never running him an inside run play? I'd have to be out of my mind to do that, okay? So I am going to combat that. But, what do I know?
And that was not, I'm telling you, that was not the issue in this game.
That was not the issue. But you have to see the plays. You have to see what happened. It's hard to see from the stands, but when you can evaluate 22 players, 61 plays, every step, every play, every read, then you have a much more educated perspective on what happened.
Yeah, confirmation bias, I think. I think people go in with a preconceived notion about what he is, and you allow the results to confirm what you believed heading into the game. But Donovan Edwards, his performance in that game wasn't about him missing a cut here or misreading a play there. That's not what happened.
No.
In this game.
Donovan Edwards has proved when he has room, and I didn't even mention the 2 runs against Ohio State a couple years ago. Both of those were inside zone plays. So when he has enough room, he's going to make something happen. The opportunities weren't there, and they will be. I think you just keep plugging away and chipping away at the rock, and they'll come.
Yep, no doubt. All right, let's go ahead and get to the next one. Steve Horn wants to know, Al, was the interception throw late? This one is right up the alley.
Yes, in my humble opinion. Everybody says it was underthrown. Well, yes, it was underthrown because it was thrown late. Okay, what happened on the play is a quarterback came off the fake, took a 3-step drop. He should have just hitch-stepped and let the ball rip. The ball would have come down about as the receiver passed the last defender, but he kind of popped back a couple steps. Every step counts, Sam. Every step counts. Every time you take a step you shouldn't take, the defender and the offensive player can travel 5 yards. He gave the corner a chance to recover. That's my take on that play, and I'll stand by that. I don't believe you can say underthrown, and you, in a sense, are right, but that's not the correction that should be made, in my opinion. It should be the quarterback getting the ball out faster, because when he hit the back of the drop, the receiver had run by the safety who had flat-footed the play pass.
That little hop can really
hop, Sam. Now, come on now. That doesn't matter that much. The hell it doesn't. It makes a huge difference. It was one of the first things, Sam, when I first started coaching quarterback, my guru was Bill Walsh, and Bill would tell you, he goes, every step counts. You take one step you shouldn't take. The ball's late. We saw it happen 2 years against TCU on a square out when the guy intercepted it out. When we hitch-stepped a square out, the guy ran it back for a touchdown. That had to be a plant throw. You gave him that opportunity to jump the cut. So that is a very finite position, as they all are. But the quarterback can get you in more trouble than most.
All right. Al, here's one. Steve Horn is back. Gorgeous. What did you see from Evan Link?
I liked him. I think now he had a few growing pains, but I think he can play. I think he's got a chance. First game, good opponent, good solid opponent. I didn't see a ton of assignment errors, a few technique issues. Still got to get his feet moving on his kick slides and pass protection. There was a couple that could have been better, but this kid I think's got a chance to be a good player down the line.
All right, going back to the questions. All right. Another Donovan. Donovan is one cut, guys. So would he be better with RPOs and zone reads? Not sure I understand the question, but
I'm going to just say this: Donovan can run any play you want to run in the offense. Period. Zone reads, one cuts, all he can do it all, but he's got to have opportunities to do it. And the offensive line and the perimeter and the tight ends and such got to give him those opportunities, because every time they have, he's proven he can. So remember, we kind of went through this a little bit last year. Sam was, "Where's Donovan?" Remember, "Where's Donovan? How come Donovan isn't doing it?" Well, same thing's happening, but just stay tuned, because before you know it, he'll go blowing down the sideline for a 60-yard run, and everybody will say, "Well, you know what? I guess he was pretty good."
This is an interesting question from Cameron Diggs. Said, Coach Borges, how do you feel about our run game against Texas? But I'm more interested in his second question. What about the RPO against Texas? I think more broadly, what do you feel about RPO when you don't RPO a lot?
Well, they have the play. We know that. They have that stuff. You have to buy into that culture, if that makes any sense, Sam. You got it. Like you mentioned Georgia. That's a great example, because that is Georgia's culture with Stetson Bennett. They were going to RPO. Hell, they threw like 13 of them in the first half and hit 11 of them against Michigan in that semifinal game. That's their culture. Now, it hasn't really been Michigan's culture, but they really need it. Because I know we were screaming for them to do it more, right? They were right. They didn't need it. But this is a different dynamic. This is a different situation. At the end, they may still not need it. I don't know. But I do know this: they're going to need a way to deal with that loaded box, whether it be with running quarterback offense, whether it be with RPOs, or whether it be with play pass shots. They're going to have to deal with that extra dude, because they're getting it. Period. Texas is going to do it. I don't even know who the hell they play after that. They're going to do it, and on and on and on. So, and RPOs is always a good answer. And maybe, Sam, you start with a little starter set of RPOs. Maybe you don't throw the whole deal at him. You say, okay, we're gonna, let's throw. We understand this. We know how to do this. We'll practice this a little more. Let's throw 4 or 5 of them in a game. And then all of a sudden they work out pretty good. And you say, well, next game, let's throw 7 or 8 of them. And before you know it, if it's giving you the return on the investment, you're running like Georgia did. Maybe you're running 10 or 11, 12, whatever. I don't know if they'll ever get to that point. I don't even know if they'll buy into the concept. But they know as well as we, it is a good way to attack a loaded box. It takes practice. It puts more on a quarterback. But it is a deadly way to go about your business. Mm-hmm. Did I answer that question?
Yeah, you did. You did. All right. Al. This one from Jeremy Rusher on Facebook. Do you think Warren will look or feel more comfortable in the game against Texas? Tougher opponent in the second game.
Yeah, I do, assuming he's not getting heavy pressure early in the game, particularly. Okay, again, he hasn't played a lot, so if there's a lot of hits early, sometimes quarterback never gets comfortable. But if they protect him well enough, he's a composed kid. Looks to me like it anyway. He doesn't look like he gets rattled much. He thinks he handles situations, from what I've seen so far, pretty darn well. So assuming that he gets protected, some things go fairly well, particularly early, I think you'll see a better quarterback. I think you'll see a better quarterback every week as long as he's playing, if they take care of him and this run game gets better.
All right. Ferris Khan wants to know, how much does time of possession matter for Michigan's offense? Do they need to limit Texas's possessions?
Well, Michigan has proven that they are, through a time of possession team. Some teams play time of possession means nothing. And I hear coaches talk about time of possession. Wait a minute now. Oh, I did a study on this one because I'm a nerd, right? And over 60% of the teams, when I studied it, won the game when they won time of possession. That just doesn't apply to certain teams that are fast offense team, want to run 80-something odd plays. But I think Michigan is a time of possession team. Now, understand, you don't always necessarily have to win the time of possession, but you have to be right there with them, you know what I mean, around that 30-minute mark, and you have to have maximized those possessions. But you do not want to be Michigan and be losing the time of possession by 8 to 10 minutes. That's not their style, okay? So an answer to his question is I think time of possession is a factor. But just because they got the ball a minute more than you, that doesn't mean you failed. It's what you did with those possessions because there wasn't an imbalance in how much they had the ball. They just had it a little bit more. But if they got a lot more, I think that hurts Michigan.
All right. Let's go back to the questions. All right. This is an interesting one. Said, Al, I always heard offensive line development takes the longest. Is that the case?
I would say, yeah, that quarterback play. Yeah. Yep. I think because there's 5 of them, right? And they got to all work. Well, really, guys, in Michigan, there's 6 or 7 of them because you got to include the tight ends in there, Sam, right? Those guys are so involved. They're not really a spread team. So they've always playing with attached tight ends, whether by alignment or motioning back. So all those guys got to work together. And like I say, the quarterback, every step counts. Well, hell, every step counts for them too. You make one wrong step, you're out of position to make the block. Or you're putting your buddy out of position to make the block. So, yeah, I think that position takes as longer than anybody else because of the amount of people involved in it.
All right. Let's go back to, well, what about the amount of improvement from week 1 and week 2? Because we, in the film study, and folks, you'll see when we go over it, I mean, we broke down a series of mishaps up front. And it wasn't just one guy. I mean, you could kind of go across the board with mistakes. And so how much improvement is reasonable to expect from week 1 to week 2? Al, when it's across, is a huge amount of improvement from week 1 to week 2 realistic to expect from the offensive line in your estimation?
Oh, I think you can make a pretty good leap, and I have found, and I think it's fairly consistent. Is the most improvement is from game 1 to game 2, and that's even more so if the guys in game 1 hadn't played much before that. The caveat to that is the opponent. Okay, they may improve more than you think they improved, and it may not show up quite as much because I'm betting Texas is better than Fresno. Okay, so yes, I think they will get better. They will get better, but don't expect a quantum leap because they're playing one of the best teams in the country.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ralph Lewis asks, don't we know what we know about Orgy at this stage of his career?
No, because I don't. A full game of 25 to 30 passes we have yet to see him do. And I said a game. So a lot of guys go, well, you watch him in practice. Game specific. What does he bring to the table if he played all the time? What does he bring? So no, yeah, I know what he can do. I know how fast he runs. I know he's athletic. I know this and that. But as a starting and finishing quarterback, we don't really know. That's why I ask. I say, well, and again, I'm not advocating this or saying that, but what if Alex would have played the whole game at quarterback? Would they have scored more than 30 points last week? Okay. There have been different things that happened because the schemes would have been different. The style of passes would have been different. I don't know. But to say we know everything about him, I don't think we do. And I don't think until he plays in a game significantly, other than just spot playing, are you really going to know. I know his skill set, but what he totally brings to the table in game situations, no.
All right. Andrew Vermette says, I would say the line had more success from inside run plays than outside run plays. What say you, Al Borges?
Well, there was a hell of a lot more inside run plays because that's Michigan's nature than there were outside run plays. The only thing they didn't really run the stretch. They ran a fly sweep that was good. They ran another fly where there was a holding penalty. They ran a bluff zone outside, which was successful. And most everything else, as I look at it, was pretty much inside runs, insert zone, power, split zones, open zones, uh, tackle traps. Most of that was inside the tackle. So to say they were better at it, they should be. They do it more. And the outside run was okay, but it just wasn't used a lot. So it's hard to make that comparison, really.
All right. Going back to the equation of the questions. This we get this every year. Don McGlynn wants to know, why don't they run a screen pass or wheel route from time to time? Just seems like it would keep the D a little more honest. Al Borges.
I'm with Don. I love screens. I'm a screen kind of guy, but they're really not. They threw two screens, both on third down, quick screens to their outside receivers. Neither one was very good. The perimeter wasn't handled. The blocking in the perimeter wasn't handled very well, so that they weren't successful. But I would love to see more screens. But again, some teams, you're kind of a screening team or you're not, because screens take time, effort, and there's a lot that go into them. And in the past, Michigan would rather spend time on other plays, and rightfully so, because what they've run has been pretty good. Again, it's a different year. Maybe it'll dictate a different thinking, but I would not hold my breath until they run 5 screens in the game, because I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Logan Lichty says, Sam, do you think offense runs more motion this Saturday? Run shotgun kind of like last year, and do you think we'll see Mullings, Orgy, Edwards package? That'd be interesting. Motions and shifts, Al. This was a team that really motioning and shifting became a heavy part of what they were offensively last year, and that was absent, totally absent almost.
No, they still did some. They still did some. It was not like it was not like it's been. I'll say that.
It did.
Like no. And I think that some
like the Alabama game for sure.
They shifted every play in the Alabama game, and they shifted a lot. But they had a few, like when they hit the Y option to Colston Loveland. They shifted into an empty formation. They started the game for a bunching one side, shifting back there. So there was some in there. But no, I don't think it was like it was. But let me tell you why I'm guessing that is with the 5 new offensive linemen. They probably didn't want that front having to move with those shifts all the time to get lined up. And because the good thing about shifting is it can confuse the defense. The bad thing about shifting is it can confuse the offense. So when defenders are moving and your targets aren't steady, you can make assignment errors. Now, the line last year and before, that was their culture. That's what they did. They expected them to be where they were, and they blocked them. But maybe, and just maybe, I don't know, maybe they weren't as into that right now until those kids get their feet under them. Don't know, but that would be my guess.
Gotcha. All righty. Let's go ahead and get back to the questions for Al Borges. Al, Jeff Elford wants to know, do you think they should put Mullings and Edwards in at the same time more often?
Yeah. Actually, let me tell you why. I like it now better than I've ever liked it. Like, because Blake and Edwards were both halfbacks, right? Legitimate halfbacks. But and there was they had a couple things they did with them I thought were kind of cool. But with Mullins, who is basically a halfback, but he is a fullback body type. I think Mullins with Donovan in some situations, and I'm not proposing you do this all the time, but a handful of snaps, a little package with the two of them, Mullins can give you what a fullback can give you and run the football too. Both backs are good sized guys. Both guys, I know Donovan's a good receiver, and I think Khalil's a pretty good receiver. So you got that to him too. I think it's a good way to get 2 of your better players on the field at the same time. How much you want to do it, I don't know. But I'm betting you see that somewhere down the line, whether it's this game or another. But it would only be logical to me because of Khalil's profile to do some of that.
All right. We got to wind down with the questions. This is a great one from Jeremy Matthews on Facebook. What are your points of emphasis if you're coaching up the O-line this week, Al?
Fundamentals, technique and fundamentals. Every step counts. Making sure that we're so meticulous about everything that we do. Hand placement, foot placement, first step. Getting on the same page with regard to how we're going to execute our assignment and being consistent with it. But that's it. I mean, you talk about the schemes and all that, and that's good. But I really believe technique and fundamentals is the starting point, particularly in any position, but the offensive line particularly because they're a little less experienced than the rest of the bunch.
All right. John Walls wants to know if your line is shaky, wouldn't it help? Wouldn't it help if you have a mobile QB?
Yes, it would. Would help to have a mobile quarterback. Now, again, John, remember that mobile quarterback's got to justify his existence. And it can't be just because he can run around all the time, because he's got to be able to hit the plays by structure, at least some of them, so that you can score more points. Okay. But yes, it's always nice to have a guy back there that can raise hell with the defense. They hate it. Defense hates it. So yes, but again, there's more to it than just his mobility. There's things that you have to be able to do at the position that isn't just geared to your ability to run around.
Brandon Times wants to know anyone seeing the Marion Walker. Working in practice. I mean, I think it really boils down to week to week what kind of practices you have. If he has a good week of practice, then I think he's one. He's one, and I'm waiting to hear what kind of week he has in practice, because he does possess something like that size and that speed is something that you can't teach, and something that they just don't. That combination is something that they don't have in anyone else on the roster. And so boils down to, hey, can he stack some days of practice together? And if he does, I think we'll see him.
Yeah.
So time will tell.
He's kind of what they're looking for, though, in terms of that type of deal. You know, he's got to get his game together, but he's kind of what you're looking for, size and speed wise. You know.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, when do we see the freshman running back Jordan Marshall? Fantastic talent. I mean, it's tough though. He's playing behind Donovan Edwards and Khalil Mullings. I mean, you know,
who knows? Yeah,
who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
It's one of those deals where we'll see. Hey, Al, you think we're gonna see more big butts on the field?
God, I hope so. Yeah,
yeah. Jumbo package.
We saw a little sprinkling in there, but Trente's not here anymore. But that's okay. We'll find another Trente. But yeah, I do. I think you're going to get it now. Again, it's still kind of embryonic, guys. You got to be able to pace. First game, new guys. You didn't see all the bells and whistles, but I'll bet you before too long, maybe this week, that they're going to go in that field's going to tilt when they come in the game. It'll go like this right here. And those three huge butts go in the game, and they replace skinny asses, and before you know it, they're pounding that duel up in there, and pounding that power encounter, and people salivating and loving life. Yeah, but in answer to your question, yeah, I think you will see that eventually.
I shouldn't put these messages up, but Reed Bristol says, I really like these sessions with Al. This is a relative of yours, by the way, I'm sure. I really like these sessions with Al. It's good insight into what's going on.
That's a very bright guy, Sam. You should listen to him. Make sure we get at least 3 of his questions on the air every week.
And that's someone who you know, someone that you're related to. I know. Look at this. We being gorgeous Borges looks more gorgeous every year. Yeah, again, another relative.
No question. No question. Chicks can't stay away from me, Sam. It's just none of that. Kavorka. I got Kavorka. What are you?
Oh my God. What is going on? Where are all these Al sycophants coming from? Anyway, folks, that is going to do it for this edition of the Michigan Football Breakdown, focused on the offense. I want to point your attention to the film study this week. The film studies are on Autograph. The Autograph app, if you are not aware, is the app that aggregates the fan experience. All of the podcasts you listen to, the blogs that you read, our free content that we have on the Michigan Insider, all in one place. Your phone, whether it be an Android, an iPhone, an iPad, all in one place, right? You can get it right there on your Autograph app. And not only that, as you consume all of these fan things, you accrue points for doing so. It doesn't get any better than that. And you redeem these points for rewards. This is a great idea. Of course, it's an idea that's hatched by a Michigan guy. That's right, Tom Brady. None other than Tom Brady himself came up with this idea. Of course, it would be a Michigan fan that did that, or a Michigan guy, a Michigan alum who came up with that. And so he said, hey, let's partner with some Michigan guys, some Michigan football guys, some guys who are doing a great film study. And so he brought the film studies over to the Autograph app as well. So if you want to watch all of the film studies this year, they are available on the Autograph app. You can download the Autograph app just by scanning this QR code that I'm putting on the screen right now. Just do that right here, right now. Put it right there on the screen for you. Download that, scan that, download the app. I'll also put the link in the description. I'll put the link in the comment section as well for you to download the app, and you can enjoy the app for free. And be sure to, while you can, download the app, and you'll be entered in the contest to win 2 free tickets to the Michigan versus Texas game. Doesn't get any better than that. This is a great app, great fan experience. You get a chance to, see all the breaking Michigan things that are going on right there in the palm of your hands with Autograph. With that, folks, that is going to do it for this edition of the Michigan Football Breakdown. We'll see you next time. Gorgeous Borges, you are looking more gorgeous, man. I got to give it to you.
You got good vision, Sam. That's good to know. You don't have to go to the eye doctor. I know you can see.
We'll see you next time, folks. And by the way, don't forget the Michigan football film study focused on Ohio State. If you want to see, y'all want to make it happen, Al is working on it. Van's working on it too. Y'all got to help us fund the Buckeye Breakdown. So
Evil Empire, Sam. The
click
evil
that
empire.
link too. Click that PayPal link too to help us fund the Buckeye Breakdown. And we'll see you next week on the Michigan Football Breakdown, focused on the offense with Al Borges.
Go Blue.